Are you still growing 1212? You're throwing away THC, terpenes, and resin. We're going to show you how a supercycle of 13 hours of light and 13 of darkness creates a virtual day of 26 hours, and that changes everything. More THC, more terpenes, more resin, and above all, more flowers. And we didn't just do it with cannabis, we also mutated strawberries. We've got mutant strawberries. Now it's not just super medicine, it's superfood too. July 1st, 2025, year zero of the Supercycle project. We're starting to change everything.
No, la policía, no.
We've always grown 1212 because that's what everyone does, because that's what worked for the OGs. It's a standard, it's a dogma. But something's been wrong. We realized that with modern genetics, things were happening, and papers like the one from the University of Guelph showed that with a bit more light, you could get more flowers and more resin. In a previous video, we showed you how a comparison between 13 hours of light and 11 of darkness versus the classic 1212 proved that 1212 is dead. The scientists at the University of Guelph killed it. That's when we asked ourselves something very simple. What if we stopped thinking in terms of 24-hour days, where we always have to sacrifice either light or darkness, and created our own days? We started working on that and found that with a normal 24-hour timer, whether mechanical or digital, you can't make 30-hour days like we wanted. And that's crazy, because we've been evolving since 1970 in cultivation, moving, for example, from sodium lights to LEC lights, to those violet LEDs that are awesome, that give off all that red light, the current white LEDs, and now there are green, white, red LEDs, with IR and UV. The folks from Green Power brought us some that we set up over there, which are great for testing. And yet, despite all that progress, that we can have CO2 meters and CO2 generators inside the grow room, and we can have a ton of things, we're still using this timer. The same one we've been using since 1970. How many of you have a $1,200 light connected to one of these timers? Well, this is what got us thinking about the Supercycle project. We have to change the way we grow, and we started doing it together. There's something fishy here. I think there's a conspiracy by the mechanical timer mafia, and they're hiding something. But we're hackers, and no mafia group of timers is going to beat us, so we're going to solve this. And that's how the Supercycles began.
Do not believe anything of this ridiculous video. Work for your leader, the mechanical timer.
The day has 25 hours, and that cannot be changed. Long live the mechanical timer.
The mechanical timer makes the world work with its 24 hours, as it should be.
And that's how the Supercycles were born, like the one we're going to show you today. 13 hours of light and 13 hours of darkness, which creates a virtual day of 26 hours, something that doesn't exist in nature, but will exist in the future. And the results? Incredible. 1313 and 1414 just exploded. 50% more production. But the important thing wasn't the weight, it was the quality. Boutique quality flowers, buds completely covered in resin, both the lower and upper flowers of the same quality. Resin on the stems, resin on the satellite leaves, just incredible. The most beautiful plants I've ever grown. Obviously, we sent all the flowers to be analyzed at the IACA labs as always, and also to counterset, and the results. 3 times more terpenes. The terpenes in some of the plants tripled. THC went up by 20%. They took 5 days longer than in a normal grow, but to get 50% more yield and this boutique quality, that wait is absolutely worth it. We've left a link in the video description to the Supercannabis website, where all the lab result PDFs are uploaded so you can check them out. With the supercycles, we're not talking about airy buds like in the "I ran out of ice cream, I want more ice cream." Filming these videos takes me so long. I bought half a kilo and now it's gone and I want more ice cream. We're not talking about airy buds like 13 to 11 with supercycles. We're talking about having premium buds. One thing we noticed in the analyses we did on terpene quantification in each of the samples is that, besides the terpenes increasing by 300% in the 13 to 14 and 14 to 14 supercycles, the terpene profile also changes. So, with the same phenotype, with the same genotype, we can modify the terpene profile through supercycles. This is something we've been looking for a long time, because we can identify different flavors depending on which hormonal response we're aiming for in the plant, another factor to investigate. We have to make a huge list because there are a ton of interesting things that are going to start changing with this cultivation method. And the best part is, we found a way to generate a mutation, a kind of Pokemon-style evolution. In some genetics, with just 700 ppf under a supercycle, you get this extreme foxtailing. When we see this, we know that terpenes increase by 300% and THC by 20%. This happens in 50% of the genetics, and in some, they even start to look like hop flowers drenched in resin. Now, something surprising, under supercycles, the plants produce more bracts than leaves. Bracts are those tiny leaves full of resin that cover the calyxes, which indicate that the plant is in flowering mode and not in vegetative mode. In a normal flower, the ratio between bracts and leaves is 3 to 1. In supercycles, this ratio is 7 to 1. What this could mean is that the excess phytochrome is causing the plant to focus all its energy on flower production and almost none on vegetative biomass production. It's also an interesting concept that we need to expand on and study further. These are all hypotheses. That's something we must never forget while watching this video, because this is something that hasn't been done yet and it's something we're discovering. The idea is for everyone to join in so that together we can figure out what's really happening inside the plant. Another important factor we have with supercycles is the increase in DLI. By having longer days, the plant is exposed to light for a longer period of time. DLI is a unit used to measure how many photons the plant receives during the day. Since our days are virtual and we have consecutive nights, the plant uses the night to produce hormones and the day to produce flowers. By having an extended night, we get a lot more hormones, and by having an extended day, we have a higher DLI even though we're using the same light intensity because the plant was exposed to light for more hours. And that's not the same as just adding more days at the end of the cycle, because during those extra hours, the plant also had much more energy since we accumulated more hormones at night. So everything improves. It's like you went to the gym, you were able to work out for more hours, and you had much more energy to build more muscle. That's another reason why supercycles work. And another significant thing we've consistently noticed is a truly extreme and remarkable phenotypic response in the vast majority of plants observed. We found that the plants split into two lines, those that develop foxtailing and those that produce a very large volume of flowers, maintaining the normal bud shape but at a much greater volume. It's like plants with supercycles express their innate traits to the fullest. Plants that produce a lot of resin produce a ton of resin. Plants that generate a lot of floral volume generate a huge amount of floral volume. Those that tend to foxtail, you'll see they develop extreme foxtailing and also extreme bleaching, the white tips, because they're in a supercycle. And that's basically it. The supercycle amplifies the plant's floral characteristics. In conclusion, the supercycle doesn't break the genetics, it exposes them, it amplifies them. If the genetics have any exaggerated characteristic, like a strong orange smell, it's going to have an even stronger orange smell when we use the Supercycle. And why does this happen? This happens because the Supercycle, for example, the 1313, is a hyperanabolic supercycle. Since the plant has more hormones, everything it does, it will do in greater quantity. If you have access to histology or qPCR at your university or you work in a lab, join the Legion. And the questions keep coming. Do supercycles work with other plants? We tried tomatoes, peppers, strawberries to see what would happen, and the strawberries mutated. They did foxtailing just like cannabis. Cannabis forms. When you do a supercycle, cannabis flowers form one flower on top of another, a very particular kind of foxtailing. And those plants are the ones that showed the greatest increase in terpenes. Terpenes, which means entourage effects, which means medicine, what's happening is really good. And the strawberries did the same thing. They, have like modules, like one strawberry on top of another. Is it going to have super flavor? Is it going to have 300% more strawberry flavor? This has a high chance of changing a lot of things. If you're going to try supercycles indoors, it would be awesome if you tried it with some food plant, whichever you like, with something you enjoy. You can put in a cherry tomato, you can put in strawberries, cherries. Here, we're setting up indoor grows and we're adding quite a lot of plants. We need to try with eggplants, dwarf ones, any plant that fits in the indoor setup. You can try it and see what happens. This is something we have to discover ourselves because it could be useful for all of humanity. We're not just talking about smoking cannabis, we're talking about food. And when, in these kinds of things, they take it away from us, the ones who are doing the research together, and it becomes something completely corporate, the bad guys get involved and we already know how that ends. Alright, we already know what happened. The flowers in 1313 exploded. We have mutant strawberries, so now we're missing three things. The first is to explain why we believe the supercycle works. The second is a conspiracy theory we have about evolution, but we're just going to touch on it briefly. And the third, which is the most important, is how you can make your own supercycle, because yes, we know you have that prehistoric timer, and, well, with that one you're not going to get anywhere. But anyway, let's take it step by step. First, why the supercycle works. We know that 12 hours of darkness trigger flowering. If you've seen our previous videos, you've already learned that the plant produces a hormone at night. Well, actually a protein called florigen, which accumulates, and when it reaches a certain amount, it triggers flowering for that day. Normally, it takes between 11 and 12 hours to reach that amount. But what happens if we give it 13 or 14 hours of darkness? The plant accumulates a lot more hormones, like florigen or a hormone called GA4. And when flowering is finally triggered, the plant doesn't respond with normal flowering. It responds with a surge of florigen, GA4, and auxins. That's what we call hyperanabolic flowering, because with 14 hours of darkness, it built up way more hormones than with a normal 12-hour exposure. If I lengthen the night, I get more or less flowering. If I extend the day, I have more time to produce flowers. So now the plant is in flowering mode, but supercharged. Before, it had 24 hours to do its job. Now it has 26 or 28, and that changes everything. More energy, more sugar, more time to manufacture.
Chaos at the Wonka factory. The Oompa Loompas revolt against the new 36-hour work protocol. We'll keep you updated.
Is it possible to improve on 1212? Leave a comment if you're up for trying a supercycle. Still, we're not going to get tired of repeating it. This is just a hypothesis because we don't really know what's going on. We're not scientists. We're just a bunch of crazy people who like to do things with plants, hack stuff, and see how we can make changes. We have a website, supercannabis.ar, where we upload all the reports from the experiments we're doing. We're running polyploidy experiments, which means turning plants into polyploids by applying colchicine. We're also reversing males with Edvon and working on the Supercycle project. In the Supercycle section, we have all the information about what we've been doing so far and a special area where you can have different cycles compete against each other. And you can upload your reports to see which Supercycle is the best. Above all, we need to work together to identify which genetics respond well to each supercycle. We need growers, hackers, and scientists to join in. Together, we're building a huge community. It's all free. We're just sharing information. We don't ask for personal data. Get connected. It's really cool. Create a user account, and what we're doing is really great. All you have to do is put your heart into it, and together we're going to create something amazing. There are other things happening with the plants. There's a kind of silent evolution going on, and we think there might be a reason for that. It's a bit of a dark theory, but when the haters start attacking the project, the first thing they say is, "You're messing up the circadian rhythm, that's not going to work." But the haters who say that don't know anything, neither about biology nor history, because days on Earth haven't always lasted 24 hours. In ancient times, when the first plant was created, days lasted 20 hours. During the age of the dinosaurs, they lasted 23 hours. Nowadays, they last 24, and in the future, they'll reach 26 hours, just like with the 1313. By the time days last 26 hours, it'll be about 300 million years from now and the sun will have already exploded, but we just pretend not to notice that part. We came up with the idea of creating a longer day, but it's something that will happen in the future, and it's inevitable. As the moon orbits around the Earth, it creates an effect on the tides that goes against the Earth's orbital movement. It's pretty wild, but the moon, as it goes around, stirs up the tides. The tides move in the opposite direction to the way the Earth spins, and that causes the Earth to slow down just a tiny bit each year. And in many years, we'll have these supercycles. So, is it possible that plants are pre-programmed and that evolution is determined by that number of hours? Why do plants that we expose to 26 hours of light evolve as if they were hops? And what if this was already programmed by someone and the length of the day, which is a factor that we humans, no matter how much we pollute or do whatever we do, we won't be able to stop it, is the factor that controls evolution. It's a crazy theory, but it could happen. Maybe supercycles are the way to break the matrix, but we'll save the conspiracy theory for another video. The important thing is that we can grow in our indoor setups as if we were 100 million years ahead. And now, what everyone's been waiting for, how to set your timer to do a supercycle. Option 1, mechanical timer. If you have one of these, you're in trouble. You can't get anything more than a 1311 out of it. They force you to think inside the box. Level of frustration? We can't even measure it because you can't use it. for Supercycles. Even if you're using it for 12-12, when the power goes out, the little wheel stops, and when you get back home you have to reset it so it keeps working. Mechanical timer? Straight to the trash. Now, if you have one of these, you've got something to play with. It's a digital timer. When you go to the website, it'll give you a series of commands that you have to program into the timer with the exact time of day you need to turn it on and the moment you need to turn it off. And you have to reprogram that day by day, so you'll need to keep reprogramming the timer. For example, if you do 13-13 every 20 days. Why is that? Because you can't follow the cycles of a normal week as if you had 24 hours when your day is 26 hours long, since every day shifts. So, what the website will tell you is which day you need to turn it on, which day you need to turn it off, and at what time you have to do it. Yeah, it's pretty tedious to set up. This isn't a definitive solution, it's just a workaround to get you by for now. The level of frustration is high, programming it is pretty boring, but it's a cheap option. A lot of people already have one at home, and with the results you'll get when you do a supercycle, you will still be happy. The main advantage of the digital timer is that it's cheap and easy to find. Now we're going to get a bit more technical. Let's move on to Shelly. Shelly is a technology for making smart homes. I think it's made in the United States, and they make some interesting timers that have the advantage of coming with an internal battery. So, if the power goes out, it keeps running, and if your internet goes down, it will still turn on and off by itself. They're probably the most reliable option for running a grow with Supercycles out of everything we've tried so far. This would be a Shelly if you live in the United States. It's a direct plug that you program from your phone here with a little button. If you go to the website, you can check out the Shelly programming section and we'll show you how you'll be able to use it. We also have some options that we use ourselves, which are these little blue gadgets that you can plug directly into a power strip, and you can use them to control several outlets at once. With Shelly, the frustration level, if you're a nerd, is extremely low. They're actually fun to set up, but they are a bit pricey. In Argentina, one of these devices can cost you around $50. In the United States, it's probably about $20, while a mechanical timer should cost about $5. And the last method, you don't have a digital timer, you don't have Wi-Fi, you don't have money to buy a Shelly, but you have determination, the manual method. You go to the website, go to the manual method programming section, enter the supercycle you want to do, and it will give you a list of days and times when you need to turn it on and off. You can write them down, put them in your Google Calendar, and if you don't even have that, just jot them down on a little piece of paper and stick it on the headboard of your bed. Every day you'll have to follow the on and off times, but we've got a really interesting trick. There's a supercycle, for example, 24 hours on, 24 hours off, that no one has tried yet, and it's super easy to do. You just have to turn on the grow room at 9 in the morning, then the next day turn it off at 9 in the morning, and keep repeating that every day. It's a supercycle with a lot of harmony. We don't know what will happen with the plants, but maybe it's the best supercycle for cannabis and you'll be the one to discover it. Try doing the manual mode, 24 on/24 off, and report it on the website so we can find out what happened. Up to this point, we've been able to see what we've been doing so far, the basic concepts of supercycles, and show you what we've achieved in these 2 months we've spent researching them. On your end, it's up to you to decide whether you'll stick with 12/12 and keep doing what you've always done, or if you're interested in breaking out of the matrix and trying a supercycle. On our end, we still have a lot left to investigate. Right now, we're doing a 15/15 supercycle, a 16/16 supercycle, and we've added quite a few strawberry plants, some brambles, some blackberries, and a few different varieties of tomatoes that we also want to see how they react. We're going to keep track of all of that. The idea is to make a weekly video and start keeping a sort of journal about what happens with each of the supercycles. Another thing we want to do is file a patent for the Supercycle so that this invention is registered in Argentina, because we're the ones discovering it, and if it goes really well, maybe I can buy myself a Tesla or a Lambo and move to Dubai, if the authorities let me. That's it for now. This was the video. That's as far as we go with the Supercycle video. This is the introduction. We've told you more or less what happened with the first ones we made. All of this still needs to be researched further. This is just the beginning. Together, we're changing the way we grow. We are Supercannabis, and to the haters, SHHH. Let them keep using 12/12. You made it to the end. You're a true member of the Legion. Few people understand what we're doing, and few will get the way we're presenting it. In 10 years, when everyone's doing 13/13 and we've rewritten the grow books, these ridiculous videos will pop up eating ice cream with a strawberry, counting money in a Tesla truck in Dubai. Well, since you made it this far, let me tell you something important. We're recruiting for a special project. There are 3 hidden clues in this video. Some are mathematical, some might be visual, or one of the clues could be auditory. If you find all 3 clues, join our Telegram group. The guys in the group will ask you for the clues and they'll know what to do. We want to work with the best, so if you think we should recruit you, find the clues, join the Telegram group, and let us know.
Again, the Argentinians.
We've drove the sails of water. It's a